The Rookie is a free serialized audiobook meant for mature audiences. Written and performed by #1 New York Times bestselling novelist Scott Sigler. For links to order a young adult version of this book without all the cussing in print, ebook, or audiobook, visit scottsigler.com/therookie, one word. This podcast contains mature situations, adult language, and lots of violence. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, junkies. How are you? This episode of The Rookie opens with a guest voice doing the weekly GFL recap. Who is this guest voice? I have no idea. In fact, I have no idea who most of the guest voices you've heard in this podcast are. That sucks. That's a bad one on me. I would love to give everybody proper credit, celebrate those who contributed to this cast so long ago. But number one, I have a crappy memory. Number two, if I documented these voices, I don't know where I documented them. And number three, I recorded this jazz 15 years ago. That is a lot of time to pass for a noodle memory like my own. With my brain, it seems to be a trade-off. A bunch of cool creativity in exchange for not being able to remember things. Not all creators are like that, but I definitely am. In other news, I am working on a brand new podcast idea to shove into your ears after The Rookie is done. I won't talk about it yet because I'm working out the bugs and the processes, and I got a couple of different possible story settings, story arcs in mind. I haven't settled on one yet. But you have 9 episodes of The Rookie left, which means in 10 weeks, I hope to return to giving you new serialized content you can't find anywhere else. We are going all the way back to the original Earth Core model, which I started in 2005, where you are getting the story released live every week, and the only place to get the story is the weekly podcast. You can't go buy a book. You can't go buy an audiobook. We will see if that works. I did that a long time ago when there weren't as many options, and now we're in a different place. We got to see how it works. I know it works extremely well for a lot of the leading fiction podcasts out there. So, going back to the way we did things originally, which is the way most successful fiction podcasts are doing it now, will probably work out. The question is, can I keep up with the workload and still be writing the books that I've been contracted to write? So we'll keep you informed. So remember, in 10 weeks, you're probably going to get something brand new. But for now, let's get back on that Ionath tip. Let me get you caught up on the story, and then we're going to see how much coffee the FDO can drink before his head pops like a zit.
Good evening, this is Dallin Koulis with your GFL Week 4 Roundup, courtesy of Galaxy Sports Network. In Tier 2 action, the Wittok Pioneers took sole possession of first place in the Quith Irradiated Conference with a thrilling 28-24 win over the Glory War Pigs. Rookie quarterback Quentin Barnes kept the Ionath Krakens in the playoff hunt with an 83-yard touchdown pass to Scarborough, giving the Krakens a 25-21 win over the winless Sky Demolition. The Grontak Hydras edged out a 35-31 win over the Big Diggers, and the Orbiting Death is only one game out of first after humiliating the Quith Survivors 28-7. Rounding out your Week 4 action, the Sheb Stalkers shut out the Woo Wall Crawlers 17-0. So, after 4 weeks of play, your standings are as follows. The Wittok Pioneers in first place at 4-0, Orbiting Death, Glory War Pigs, and Sheb Stalkers all at 3-1, the Ionath Krakens and Grontak Hydras at 2-2, the Big Diggers, Quith Survivors, and Woo Wall Crawlers all at 1-3, and the Sky Demolition in last place with 0-4. And there were no deaths to speak of this week, unless of course you count Sky Demolition's chances at a playoff spot for this season. And now for your Week 4 Players of the Week. On offense, we have Condor Adrian, quarterback for the Wittok Pioneers. Condor completed 31 of 42 passes for a total of 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And the Big Diggers cornerback Arkham is our defensive player of the week with 6 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 interceptions, one of which resulted in her second touchdown of the year. And that about does it for me for this week. For more details on this week's action, as well as a preview of the Krakens' next game, please visit www.galacticfootballleague.com. Until next time, this is Dallin Koulis, signing off.
Quentin walked slowly from his locker to the central meeting room and to Hokor's office. 2 days of rest hadn't completely removed the pulsing, dull nova ache that lived inside his skull. Concussion-proof helmets. Yeah, right. He'd notched his first GFL win as a starter, but he'd paid a price. The concussion had him puking his guts out the rest of the night and well into the next day, even though there was nothing left to puke. And with each stomach-clenching burst, his breath locked up and his muscles tightened. When he finally breathed and the muscles relaxed, the sudden rush of blood to his brain elevated his omnipresent headache to new levels. While his teammates celebrated the win, Quentin spent the rest of that night in bed, which is where he spent the next day and most of the day after that. He tried to get up and run through VR practice, but Hokor himself came to his room and told him to stay put, on Doc's orders. Now, 2 days later, he didn't feel 1 ounce better. But pain or no pain, he wasn't going to miss one single rep of actual practice. He was not going to let his teammates down, not when this week's game put them against the 3-1 Sheb Stalkers. Quentin walked through the door to Hokor's office. "You wanted to see?" Quentin stopped his sentence halfway through when he saw Donald Pine, fully dressed for practice.
"Come in, Barnes. Shut the door."
Quentin did as he was told, a double sick feeling growing in the pit of his stomach. Double sick. Sick once, because he couldn't even stand to look at Pine the tanker, and sick twice because he instantly knew the reason for this closed-door meeting.
"Barnes, you did an amazing job last week. You put us back on the board. If we can beat the Sheb Stalkers this week, we're 3-2 and back in the running."
Quentin nodded softly.
"You've generated a lot of respect. The team is now confident in your abilities. There's a new feeling in the locker room that we have a guy who can come off the bench and play big-time ball."
Come off the bench.
"That's right, the bench. Pine is our starter, and he's healthy."
Quentin breathed deeply through his nose. That fucking tanker was starting again.
"I just wanted to let you know in person. I know your goal is to start, and I wouldn't want it any other way. You're the future of this franchise, but right now, it's Pine's team. Do you understand?"
Just run the plays that are called. The throbbing in Quentin's head suddenly kicked up a few notches. "Yeah, sure. I understand. Can I go now?" Hokor nodded. Quentin turned. He meant to just tap the door open button, but his fist hit it so hard the red plastic plate cracked. The door hissed open, and Quentin walked out into the central meeting room. "Fuck this fucking team. They can all go straight to hell." Quentin stormed out of the locker room and through the tunnel. He had just about reached the field when a hand grabbed his shoulder and gently stopped him. Quentin turned violently, eyes wide, nostrils flaring, and looked into the surprised eyes of Donald Pine. "Hey, kid, take it easy." Pine flashed his trademark smile. "Just try to relax a little." "Fuck you," Quentin said, pushing Pine's chest to emphasize the last word. "Hey!" Pine stumbled back a step as his tone changed and his smile faded away. "Why don't you just simmer down? I know you're pissed, I'd be too, but you gotta play a role on this team." "And what is my role? Just what the fuck is my role, Pine? Sit on the bench?" "If you have to, yes." Pine's expression had faded from smile to blankness, and now it twisted into a mask of frustrated anger. "Sit on a damn bench, Quentin. Pay your dues. I know you think you're hot shit, but I've about had it with your attitude that you're better than me. I tried to help you, you stubborn dickhead. You better pull your head out of your ass." "Oh, is that right?" "Yeah, that's right. You're going to be great, kid, but right now you're just not as good as me. Just relax and learn a system until your time comes." "And when will that time come? The next time you throw a game for Mopuk the Sneaky?" Pine blinked rapidly, and his breath stopped short, as if a knife had slid noiselessly into his heart. He took a small step back, then looked to his right and left, seeing if anyone had heard. The 2 quarterbacks were alone on the field. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, you go fuck yourself. Your party friends paid me a visit the day before the demolition game. Mopuk said you were his bitch, Pine, that you throw games whenever he wants." Pine looked down, and in that instant, Quentin knew it was true. He felt a part of his childhood die right there on that spot. A man he'd idolized was a tanker. Why? Why the hell'd you do it? Because it'll kill me if I don't. I gamble a bit. I got in over my head. Quentin spat on the ground, then looked into Pine's shameful eyes. How much do you owe? Pine looked away and shrugged. Quentin grabbed him by the shoulder pads, shook once, and pulled Pine close until their eyes were only inches apart. How much? 4 million. 4 million! The number seemed staggering, but then he remembered a Tier 2 quarterback of Pine's caliber made 3 or 4 million a year. On top of that, he had the endorsement deals that put his picture on almost as many holo ads as Itzhak. So why don't you just pay it, man? You've got that much, don't you? Pine slowly shook his head. I already went through everything I have. Savings, my salary. I'm still 4 million in the hole. How long has this been going on? Pine looked away again. Quentin gave him a quick, single shake. Pine looked at his feet. Since 79. Quentin's eyes widened as he did the math. Since 79? You've been tanking games for 4 years? I bet a lot of money in the 77 semifinal with the Toad Pirates. That put me in a hole. I've been working my way out ever since, man. I'm almost out. 4 mil in the hole, and you think you're almost out. I just need to win a couple of bets, man. That's all. Then I'll be out. Quentin pushed him away. The two men stood in silence. So you gonna tell Hokor? Quentin thought for a moment, then shook his head. Why not? That would give you the starting job. He met this comment with a shrug. Pine was right. It would give him the starting job. But Quentin didn't want to win it that way. He wanted to earn it. The first players started to filter out of the tunnel for practice, joining the two quarterbacks on the field. Don't do it again, Pine. You do it again, and I'll take you down. Pine looked at him with the eyes of a haunted man, a man hunted from all directions for far too long. You'll take me down if I don't do what you want? Hey, welcome to the club. Pine walked to the sidelines. Quentin stormed to a ball rack on the 30-yard line, anger and emotions whipping through his head. Without saying a word to them, Denver, Milford, and Richfield lined up, waiting for Quentin to call out patterns. Deep! Denver shot down the field. Quentin dropped back to the 20, then threw the ball with a grunt. He put all his strength into the throw. It sailed so far past Denver, she didn't even bother jumping. The ball arced through the air, sailing past the end zone, past the grass at the back of the end zone, and bounced off the glass dome 6 floors up at the far end of the field. Fuck. Quentin grabbed the next ball, oblivious to the fact that he'd just thrown the ball over 100 yards in the air. Reprint of an article from the Ionath Gazette. Headline: Pine leads Krakens to second straight win, by Kigan the Witty. Dateline: Ionath City, AP. You can't keep a good veteran down. At least that's what Ionath fans are thinking following a 21-7 Krakens win over the Sheb Stalkers, a win that might as well be named the Donald Pine Show. Pine missed 2 games with a broken femur, but showed that time off didn't affect him in the least. He went 21 for 34 in the day, throwing for 312 yards with 2 TDs and no interceptions. The Stalkers came into the game with only 1 loss and were favored by 9 points, but couldn't find an answer for Pine's accurate short passing game. We did everything we could, said Stalkers middle linebacker Brian Badrock. If we blitzed, he hit us short. If we didn't blitz, he hit us long. It was a really long, really frustrating day. The Krakens' offensive line, which has given up 8 sacks in the last 2 games, offered Pine laser-proof protection the entire game. It was the first time the Krakens didn't give up a sack since week 1. Anyone could have thrown well with that much time, Don Pine said after the game. All the credit goes to the offensive line. They're true warriors. Following Ionath's come-from-behind win over Sky Demolition in week 4, many Krakens fans saw a potential quarterback controversy between Pine and rookie QB Quentin Barnes. Pine, however, put those thoughts to rest with his flawless performance against the Stalkers. The Krakens' defense was a key factor in the win, holding the Stalkers to just 68 yards rushing while snagging 4 turnovers. Alexander Michnik notched 3 sacks, and Berea grabbed 2 interceptions. Week 5 League Roundup, courtesy of Galaxy Sports Network. The big story this week is the Wichita Pioneers' loss at the hands of Orbiting Death. The Death's win puts them in a 3-way tie for first with the Pioneers and the Glory Warpigs, all teams at 4-1. The Warpigs put another mark in the win column with an easy 42-17 drubbing of the Sky Demolition, who are 0-5. The Pioneers' loss is even more devastating considering the injury to league-leading quarterback Condor Adrian, who suffered severe damage to his right elbow. Adrian is out for 3 to 4 weeks. The Big Diggers, 2-3, defeated the Woo Wall Crawlers, 1-4, by a score of 22-6. The Quith Survivors, 2-3, edged out the Grontak Hydras, also 2-3, in a 23-20 overtime thriller. Deaths. This week, the GFL honors the passing of Chicago, wide receiver for the Sky Demolition, who was killed by a gang tackle involving Glory Warpigs defensive backs Kelluang and Wellington. League officials ruled it a clean hit. Well played, Chicago. Here's wishing you an eternity of long touchdown pass receptions. Players of the Week. Offense, Donald Pine, quarterback, Ionath Krakens, 21 of 34 for 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Defense, Sven Dropner, linebacker, Quith Survivors, 16 tackles, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble.
You have been listening to The Rookie, Book 1 of the Galactic Football League series. Produced by Ariok Morningstar with post-production by Steve Rickyberg. Written and performed by Scott Sigler. For more information on the author and more free stories, go to scottsigler.com. Theme music is the song The Kids Are Coming For You by the band Superweapon. Superweaponband.com.
You gotta say